I have to laugh. We're doing this for the second time. Fabian and Melissa, thank you for being here and welcome to the Retail Horror Podcast. This is our second attempt of doing this.
Hello. Yeah.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
We have been doing series, and I've started to reach over to people like from Fred Siegel and from Anthropology, and I figured what better time than to do Life After Z Gallerie.
Yeah.
All of us work together. First I want to get the backstory, because you guys worked together prior to when we all came together at Thirsty Promenade, correct?
Correct. We worked together at the Pasadena store, the Pasadena Z Gallerie, and I hired Fabian, right, Fabe? Or
Yes,
did
you
Nicola
did.
hire you? I hired you, yeah.
Yes.
So I was Fabian's manager. I don't even know how long ago. How long ago? 28 years?
I think so.
Like 28
Yeah.
years ago?
I
Oh my
think so.
God.
I did. I mean, so when I first started with Z Gallerie, Nicola did hire me.
Okay, so then I was the assistant then at the time. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I left for school, and then I came back.
Oh, okay.
And then that's when you rehired me, and then
And I
stayed
still
on.
rehired you. Wow.
I still rehired you. Is this because you were on the telephone a lot? Is that?
Fabian was literally the best and worst employee, if you can imagine that at the same time. Like, he was amazing with customers. Obviously, we'll get into like everything on the merchandising end, but he was also the most social employee on outside of work, which he definitely brought into work. And
I was young.
Way too many times, and I'm like, where's Fabian? He's supposed to be greeting, and I see a light lit up on the phone, and Fabian's not there, but in the back room on the phone. So yeah, best and worst.
Okay, I want to know how you dealt as a manager, how you dealt with that situation. Because I had an employee like that, Arthur, when I was at Fred Siegel, and we had a lot of come to Jesus meetings out in the back alley because I could not hold my temper.
We had
to come to Jesus.
I think it was like a precursor to how I was going to be as a parent. In a lot of ways, because Fabian's younger than I am. Not that I felt like I was ever his parent, but he tested my patience like there was no tomorrow. Like, and it was such a challenge because like I loved him then, and so, but having to like reprimand, and I didn't like to do that, but at some point, like I don't even know how many times I ended up writing him up, but it was
only one.
I don't know. I feel like it was more than once, but it was a big one. Like it was a slam the door.
She slammed the door, and I remember she pulled out the paper and she was writing. I mean, I thought the pen was going to break because she was writing so hard and so fast, and she was breathing so heavy because she was so angry, and at the same time she was drinking her Diet Coke.
The Diet Coke. Oh my God, I can't remember that.
Yeah,
it's something we literally still to this day joke about because he just brought out this fury in me that I couldn't contain it, but I didn't fire him, and so it wasn't that bad.
So how long? Okay, so how long was it till you moved to Thirsty Promenade store?
I was at the Pasadena location for at least 3 years, at least.
And then did Fabian follow you? Did you ask Fabian?
No,
I don't remember that part, honestly.
I think I had started doing visuals a little before you had left. I was doing part-time visuals and still working part-time in the store.
Okay.
And then you had went to 3rd Street, and then I started picking up a little, going from 2 days to 3 days to it just being my full-time job.
Yeah, we're talking like 25 years ago. Like this is how long like we've known each other and have had this connection with you too, Michelle. Like 25 years.
that's part of, I mean, that's part of the reason I wanted to do these series, because it's like I have friends still from Fred Siegel that I talk, and there's something about both the friendships that we have curated along the way in the retail jobs, as well as the lessons that everyone learns. So that's kind of like, I want to dig a little bit into that before we jump to, because the other thing I always say is that these companies, Anthropology, Z Gallerie, Fred Siegel, they have produced some of the most insanely creative, talented people that have gone on to do some really amazing jobs. You two are two of them. And I think it's so important to tell these stories, which is why I'm like, okay, we are doing this interview because it's amazing to be able to see you and talk to you, but it's also because I think it's super important for people to hear the jump from one thing to the other, and what you learned at point A and what you are doing now in point B. Like, I think that's all super important. So fast forward to, you are now the manager at Thirsty Promenade. I have lost my stores at Fred Siegel. I'm coming from a store that, even though computers were out, Fred Siegel is still on the old school register that you Z'd out at the end of the night. Fast forward to now, Michelle is coming in as the manager, which I still don't know quite how that happened. And I have no computer knowledge whatsoever. And we are a store that does not only furniture sales and whatnot, which I could sell, but we do fucking custom framing orders.
Custom framing, yes. And those. I think you took that frustration that I had with Fabian to a different level.
Ouch.
But again, I mean, we're here all these years later. It literally turned into, like, I was trying so hard just to teach you how to do the custom framing, but it literally came to the point that if I saw someone come, like, walking in with like a tube, I just was like, I'll take it. I got it. We're not going to try anymore.
Yeah.
Everybody has their strengths.
I will say to you right now, I'm not shy about it on this podcast. I am very vocal about, like, I have a zero technology, and because framing is so fucking mathematical, and I am dyslexic and I do not get math at all. So that's like the double whammy. So I want to apologize to you right now. Because
I even had a hard time with it.
Yeah, but look at it. I mean, but both of you are so visual, in what you do, that it's those, like, numbers that wasn't your strength, like,
still
it was just something that the store offered, and someone had to be strong at it. So, yeah.
I left before you did, right?
You did. Yes.
Okay, good. Because I was like, what would I have done without you? So I am super grateful that you were the manager, and you were the person that you were the assistant manager and I was the manager, but I'm super grateful that you were who you are, because I don't think there's a whole lot of people that would have gone, what the fuck is she doing in here? And I need somebody else that can actually run the store. I made it look pretty.
You made it look very pretty. Yeah, I feel like you and I had a really good system. We kind of split operationally, visually, and the art side fell under that, and it worked. I feel like it worked really well because it did definitely play to both of our strengths.
Okay, I'll take that. Thank you.
Yeah.
What I love about this job is that, because at Fred's it was visual, but it wasn't like anything like visual like Z Gallerie is. And the piece of the puzzle of how shipment comes out, like every Wednesday, a full semi pulls up in the back, you do shipment at 6 o'clock in the morning, you unload it, you do your best to put it in its place. And then the visual team,
right,
Fabian, Leon, come in the next day and magically turn the store complete, because you guys were doing full floor moves too.
Yeah, sometimes we would, and it would vary, and because we never knew what we were going to get.
You never got any kind of,
not in the beginning. I mean in the beginning it was just whatever arrived and came in, we would just kind of work with, and just, okay, this is it, put this here, put this there. And so Yeah, I mean, maybe Leon had a little bit more inside information on what we were going to receive, but I didn't. Not until years later, as the organization grew, did we start to become a bit more streamlined and structured. But in the beginning, I remember going to Third Street and other stores, and it was just, okay, what do we have? And let's just put it out.
How many stores was that at that point?
Well, let's see. I mean, Pasadena was store 8.
Yeah.
And there was, I don't remember exactly, but I know during my tenure there, I mean, I had ended up opening 40 stores with them.
I was going to say, when I left,
Yeah.
which was 15 years ago, they were like at 72 stores at that time.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So fast forward to, I can't even talk. I was able to get out of the management position and go do visuals with Fabian and Leon, which was amazing. You were at Third Street for how long? And then you, Melissa, you stayed with Z and you were there for a long tenured employee. I mean, like you moved into buying offices.
Yeah, I did. I moved into the buying office. Initially, it was to be one of the custom furniture buyers because the buyer at the time was a little overwhelmed. But after being in that position for not very long, we realized that that wasn't really necessary for there to be 2 people. And at the time, the POS system was changing to what they actually still have today, which is kind of crazy to me because that was 15 years ago. So I was helping with the transition during that whole thing. And then it just so happened that the art buyer was going on maternity leave. And she said, I want Melissa to be in the art department to run it while I'm gone. So that's kind of how that happened, how I ended up there. Art was always like the strong part for me in the stores, whether it was hanging the wall, doing the custom framing. So then I moved into the art department and then I was there for 7 years before I left, but I was at Z Gallerie for 14 years total.
How long was it till you were the head buyer for the art?
Well, I was never the head buyer. I was the merchandise planner and the assistant buyer.
Okay.
So, and that was one of the reasons why I left was because the head buyer at the time was going to go nowhere unless she got hit by a bus. Like that was just, she would have gone nowhere. So the opportunity came along. See, he's laughing because he knows I'm right. So the opportunity came along with where I am still currently, and that's how the transition kind of happened. They were one of our suppliers. I loved their line, and then I moved over here. But no, I was in the art department for 7 years, before I made the leap.
So before I ask you the next question, what the hell is on the back of your chair?
Oh my God, it is one of my birthday presents from one of my kids. It is it's my blanket. Can you see him?
Who is
Oh,
that?
that's hilarious.
Chris Hemsworth.
That's hilarious.
So he keeps me warm. Yeah.
I love it.
I could not, I hate to break, I mean, because this is going to be on YouTube, so anybody who's watching, but I just seeing this photo of somebody behind you, I'm like, what is that?
I know, he keeps me warm. I know, it's the best. So every day, it's so cute. I refold him and I have a different part of him hanging out. Yeah.
God, I love you.
I usually move it for Zoom calls. I forgot.
No, I'm kind of glad I got to see that. So you guys, okay, Fabian, you also moved out. You were already on the road traveling with Leon. Tell me about how your trajectory went into the Z Gallerie higher ups.
Yeah, so I was doing visuals pretty much in Southern California, and at the time, it was when the company had most of the stores in California, Northern California, Southern, and I think 1 or 2 in Arizona or something. But as the years went on and they were expanding, they had relocated me to Chicago. And that was to kind of, support the expansion and the stores that were opening within the Midwest. It was kind of like half of the US because I was visiting some of the stores that we had just opened, say in Dallas, in Ohio, in Chicago, in Missouri, in Georgia, Florida, and it just kept going and going and going. And so I kind of had the basically like the East Coast. And then as it was getting bigger and growing, then the regions just started getting split a bit more until I was concentrated within just the Midwest area. Yeah. Then after that, I was there for a couple of years. Then I was relocated again to San Francisco, and to work a bit closer to the buying offices up in Northern California. And there it was, I would then help out with setting up some of the themes and collections and the seasons that were coming up for the next, I guess the next season, if you will. And then we would bring everyone in and kind of show them, okay, this is what we're going to be doing, and kind of walk them through the mock store, and yeah. And
that's kind of, it's very what Anthropologie used to do the same thing. And as you're telling me this, and when you talked about going to San Francisco, because wasn't William and Carol up there, and William's boyfriend, are they? And this is so inappropriate, but I have to talk about this story. I don't remember what opening it was. And do you remember we had those big ceramic chickens? So I think you know where this is going, Fabian. So it's like
yes,
store openings, and William, the buyers are rarely there. I mean, they're like, and I just remember William around with a big black chicken, and him walking through going, has anyone seen my big black cock? And I could not keep it together, but I just kept thinking, how are you able to do that?
Yeah, that was hilarious.
I mean, that's part of that I know, I'm sure okay, before anyone says it, I already know, like, everyone has those groups in a store. So please don't come at me with inappropriate language that I use, because we all know I use the F-bomb. So I just have to say that right now.
That's literally back when you were actually able to do something like that and realize that it was just in jest and just for fun.
Oh my God, still my best memory.
Worried about everybody's fucking feelings getting hurt.
Still my favorite memory ever from that. So okay, Fabian, I'd ask you a question because I never asked you this before. And I just remember from doing openings for Anthropologie, there's a new DM, there's a new manager. Sometimes they came to the store, sometimes they did not. You set the whole store, it looks amazing. You walk away, you come back 3 weeks, a month later, and it is completely fallen to a total shit show. Did that happen when you guys were opening stores that were so far out that did not have like the support of corporate close by?
Oh yeah. I mean, it kind of varied store to store. There were some stores that had, a pretty strong team and had really good leadership where they did a great job in maintaining, and they had a lot of people working there that had retail experience and had some visual knowledge under their belt. But then there were other stores where, yes, it would be a disaster. And sometimes it could have just been because of the sheer volume that they would do. They just couldn't go back and maintain because they were so busy.
I remember those days, man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it would kind of vary. But I mean, one of the reasons why I had moved to San Francisco was just that I think the company started to realize that, they can't have all these visual people kind of go back and recover and redo it. It's not sustainable. So it was where, I went over there and we started to kind of put down on paper what it is that we did. And we started to come up with with the first visual manual and try to write down some of the experience and some of the knowledge so that we could then share it with everyone.
We did the same thing with the gallery department for sure. Like we had gallery managers because, they would get the same amount of shipments in every week. And what would be up on the wall, some walls they were like brick walls, because at the time that's a lot, how the stores were merchandised. It was like the raw brick. Those were really hard to hang with. So we had gallery merchandisers around the country. There were 7 of them. And so I helped like wrangle those in, and we had like the focus wall and, what was going to go on that. It wasn't as extreme as the other side of the store. and we worked very separately. So we didn't have to work within like the vignettes and all that stuff. We were able to buy what we wanted to buy. But merchandising wise, like we would say, okay, these are going to be like the 20 focus pieces that need to be up on the walls at some point, because we would always see that the turn would be so much faster if they were up on the walls versus in the stacks. So we would buy accordingly so that they would make sure that the store had stock of them. But it was kind of the same thing. Like as it like evolved, it definitely got much more structured, where before it was very loose and very like, we did whatever we could and whatever you had the means to do. But
I mean, it
yeah.
really, it really was a very small family operation. I mean, when I left, the Zidans still owned it, and
Yeah,
I think
me too.
their mom had passed away. But I mean, it was very, very much a family operation, and they were very involved in the stores, and I feel like it grew so fast. And it's like just kind of like there was no way to catch up once the expansion started like that. I mean, it was I can't even imagine, because I was gone before that many stores were open for sure.
Yeah.
You're talking about the gallery walls, and like for people who don't remember what the gallery, because I think everyone remembers both, but I think the furniture side of it is what everyone remembers the most. But hanging those gallery walls, another thing I hated. It's like,
those were hard.
Talk about a fucking puzzle. I mean, also, we Third Street had the brick and mortar. So it's like, you're literally like trying to put in nails in between bricks and mortar, and shit's falling everywhere.
It's falling all over. And you've got like, there's supposed to be spaced a certain amount and certain way. And
oh God,
you've got like employees that didn't want to be up on a ladder. And I remember so vividly when I would be hiring for Pasadena, and girls would be like, well, what's the dress code? Can you wear dresses or can you wear skirts? And I said, yes, but I don't want you to complain if I have you on the top row of the ladder, like to hang something. I said, it still needs to be appropriate. Like, that was back in the day, but yeah, they were hard.
oh my God. And I just remember the giant stacks of art, and you're like, going through them, even customers going through them. And it's like, for those who aren't putting up, we haven't talked about the years, but for those who are hearing this, this is during the 90s. So this is during like the stack it high, watch it fly, so much excess. And it's funny because I interviewed Janine that owned Fred Siegel Flair, and Yenny, who owned Fred Siegel Couture, and we talked about the excess of that time. And Yenny had Couture, so she sold Dolce & Gabbana, and she goes, "Don't you remember?" She goes, "We had Dolce & Gabbana wife beaters." She goes, "I don't even know if I can say that word anymore, but a wife beater." White and black. They were $600 each. And they had customers like, I'll take 12 black, I'll take 6 white. I mean, like, that's what kind of excess we're talking about. And the amount of inventory these stores held in order to keep the sales going was insane. I mean, a semi pulled up. I mean, like I say nothing less, a semi.
Yeah. Every week.
That was still those are still my favorite days though. Like,
absolutely.
Truck was like still my favorite.
Hands down. Yeah.
So talk to me now, fast forward into where you guys are right now. Melissa, you are at Third and Wall.
Yeah, so I'm working for a publishing company. I've been here for almost 15 years. It'll be 15 in June. I'm the creative director. And yeah, I mean, I've started with sales and working with my clients, and I still have like a handful of clients that I work with that I love, but helping to like curate the line and bring on new artists and meet the trends within the industry. And we sell to not only designers and that market, but also to like wholesale framers who sell into the big box. They sell into Target and Home Goods and Hobby Lobby and all of that. So curating the two lines to make sure that our artists produce artwork that's going to work for both. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. But
so I ask everybody the same questions, like, and especially for yours, like, where do you go and find the trends and the inspiration for what you're projecting now for, a huge industry, along with designers and hotels? And
so a lot of it gets based on, so as far as the retail side goes, like they will send us the trends. They'll send us their trend boards of what they're looking for. So we get, I'm not kidding, down to Big Lots. We'll send trend boards that you would think was like this high end.
They're on their game. Let me tell you, like,
Oh
just
my gosh,
if I can judge
shockingly
it,
so.
if I can judge it against how their Christmas is curated, it's like they're a totally different animal now than they were
Totally
5
different
or 10 years ago.
animal. Their buyers know what's happening in the industry. Their buyers aren't quite forward, but they're getting there. Like it is very interesting. Same thing with Hobby Lobby. Like I'll get their trend boards and I'm
They're
just
really
like,
good.
what is happening here? Like it's, yeah, it's very shocking. So a lot of on the retail end is just based on what the stores are looking for. But they work really far out. So like today I was working on a Hobby Lobby project but it's not until Q2, no, Q3, Q4 2023. So they work really far out. And then as far as the design industry, I just really follow a lot of the designers on Instagram.
Your favorites.
Oh God, I don't even know. Steering
Sorry.
Co. Just the basic ones like Magnolia Home. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at my Insta. I am the worst at Instagram because I don't, and this is horrible, and I probably shouldn't admit this, but I will. I don't look at who. I just look at what.
Yeah.
So I don't. So it's hard for me to answer a question like that. I just know that I like certain things. But yeah, so for the design market, and then our artists tend to be, we definitely tend to be ahead of the curve. So with other companies that do kind of what we do, for lack of a better word, as far as on the publishing end, we are much more trend forward. And so a lot of times things that are barely coming out now, like we have to go back like a year or two to source from because that's what they're looking for.
Uh,
Is great, I think, because it sets us ahead. But on the flip side, we have to keep things really tight because a lot of times other publishers or other artists will love to take inspiration
mhm.
from our artists and they become a little too close to what.
It's the way of the industry, man.
It's really challenging. It is
Fashion's the
really
worst.
challenging.
Fashion, it's like straight up like there was last season, there's a sweatshirt that had smiley face, like an embroidered smiley face on it. I'm not joking you, like literally 6 months later at this show, there must have been 7 vendors that straight up knocked off the
Yeah.
exact same thing, exact same fabric, and
Yeah.
they're like, and they're openly saying, oh, see, and it's cheaper than buy together. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it makes it. And to your point, as far as like fashion, so we do look to fashion a lot and also textiles. Textiles is really big for us. So what happens in textiles will then translate into what happens in art as far as coloring goes. So like I'll go and walk the shows. I'll walk High Point, I'll walk Vegas, and just to kind of get an idea of what I'm seeing like in the fronts of the store as opposed to what's going on in the backs of the store. And then colors in particular seem to be where a lot of the artists will get their inspiration from. So
So what are some of the trends for because coming off of magic, like a lot of the trends, like there's 2 different sides. There was the color blocking still and super brights, because fashion, like fashion it tends to set the trends for gift like a year or 2 in advance. So
yeah,
color blocking, and then these beautiful like kind of like muted apricots and tan and dusty
yeah,
blue, and they were
yeah,
like gorgeous, yummy color mixes. Is
yeah.
that kind of the same for?
Yeah, so for the art, for sure. The color blocking, not so much, because you also have to think like who's going to want it on their wall. And for
Yeah.
us, like our price point is a little bit higher than others. So a lot of times we tend to just be a little bit more on the neutral end. Blues are still super hot, but yeah, so like that burnt sienna, that apricot, the like smoky blue, like some of those like bluey gray kind of colors, like that combination is
Love.
really strong. And then neutrals. Neutrals, you cannot get enough neutrals, and then blues, like all shades of blue. Blue's not going away as far as art goes. I was hoping it was going to go away. I have finally embraced blue because for years I was still in like the earth tones and like the maybe a little bit more of like the reds and that kind of thing. And that there's nothing in the house that's like that anymore because I was like, I might as well just embrace it and get with it because I can't find anything that's
Bring it on.
yeah. As I'm sitting in my room that's like painted navy blue. And yeah, but blue is definitely still super strong. We can't get enough of those. The sage greens are still really hot. Yeah, not much has changed with art. And I feel like, especially over the last couple of years with COVID, everyone's trying to be very safe with what's on their walls and seeing
It's so calm. Like it
very
seems like
calm,
you don't
very
have
just
a lot of,
tranquil. So those color blocking things, I think they agitate
yeah.
a little bit for that. So we're definitely seeing, like seascapes and landscapes and everything very safe, for lack of a better word, is what's just translating really well.
Do
Yeah.
you guys have a showroom?
We don't. No,
No.
well, we do kind of. We have a small little gallery space up in Seattle, which is part of the office. I'm remote, so I work down in Los Angeles, but the company is in Seattle. And so the office space is fantastic. It's well, not brand new anymore. I guess it's like 4 years old now, but a newer build. And there's a small gallery where we have our originals that hang in there. Yeah.
That's great. And then now, Fabian, you tell me, because you left Z Gallery and
His story is amazing.
your story is amazing. I mean, we're going to peel back the page on IKEA a little bit, but like you also have your own website and now you're one of the buyers for Roman. So tell me a little bit about your trajectory.
Yeah, so right now I'm the gift merchandiser and buyer for Vroman's bookstore. It's a family-owned, very, very old company that has been in business for about 128 years. And yeah, it is.
It's insane.
And then that it's also a bookstore that's still in existence. And they also own another bookstore in West Hollywood called Book Soup, which has also been around since the 70s. So I'm doing buying and merchandising for the 3 stores that they have. But prior to that, I was living and working in Sweden for IKEA. And I was there I think I was with them for about, I think a little under 11 years. So that was an amazing experience. And just, I mean, I remember when I had left Z Gallerie to go and IKEA, here you leave one company and you're on top of it and you think you know it all and everything. And then you start in this new organization. And it was so humbling to recognize, like, wow, you know what? I don't know everything. And here I thought I was confident in merchandising. And you go, I mean, I remember talking with several people about going from like this, I felt like I went from this sailboat to like this oil tanker. And I was so intimidated and so overwhelmed. And I'm like, you know what? They got the wrong person. They did this. I can't do this. And yeah, but you know what? Once you start to kind of be open to like the learning and once you accept that humbleness and all those lessons that you learned from the past,
amen.
You just start to pick up, and you start to pick up steam, and you just start to grow with the organization. And again, at the time, IKEA was a huge company. So, I was excited for the growth opportunity, but then I said, you know what, it's so big that it's really never gonna, I'm never really gonna grow, I think as big as I did with Z Gallerie. But no, I went really far, and I think the organization had relocated me several times. I went from San Francisco to Connecticut, from Connecticut to Philadelphia, from Philadelphia over then to Sweden.
So when they wanted you, not to interrupt you, but when they wanted to, when you made that jump from US to Sweden, like how did they propose that to you? I mean, that's, I think anybody listening to this is going to be like, how does that happen? Like how that's a dream job. Yeah. And then tell me about, like, so you get there, do they help you find a house? Do they like, do tell?
Yeah. So, I mean, at the time, I had, I think just all the stars aligned. And I was, when I went to Philadelphia, that's where our North American service office is at. And so I was connecting with a lot of the country leaders there. And a lot of the people that would come from overseas, say if there was a meeting, they would then go into the store. And so, you know, the U.S. organization had wanted that store in Philadelphia to start to become like a best practice store for the U.S. And so then I started going on other projects and joining different, what do you call, different, I'm at loss of a word, but for lack of a better word, just these little, they would get these groups of people to kind of assemble around a certain topic or a certain problem, and we would come together to like solve it. Yeah. So anyway, to speed it up, you know, there was an opportunity to go work in Sweden, and that was to go work next to the global offices, and then to work at the location where it was the global best practice, where they would publish all the stuff for all the countries. So then I accepted the role, and they relocated me, and I got a moving counselor. They had paid for everything to move over there. They had paid for part of my housing. I mean, the benefits of that organization was just incredible. And but it was a contract, and in the contract it was, you know, it was for a time, and part of it was that if I decided not to stay or go forward, then they would move me back. And then, you know, just working there and working in that culture, and just kind of seeing the difference from how people live and work over there versus here was just completely eye-opening.
Talk about that a little bit, because I know we talked about this on the last time we tried to do this, and I think everyone knows culturally Europe, it takes so much better care of themselves, and it's like I feel like, and I've said this before, you know, being stressed out and working so hard, and oh my God, and I'm so tired. It's not a fucking badge. And I feel like Americans wear it like a badge. Like, I'm so tired. I've worked 7 days in a row, and I've 13 hours a day. And that's not something to be proud of. Like,
but it is part of our culture. You're right. It's completely part of our culture. It shouldn't be, but it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the first month I got there, you know, of course you want to make a great, you know, impression, and you want to, you know, try to do as much as you can. And my boss had approached me because she was concerned that I was working a lot. And you know, she said, you know, hey, I'm kind of worried. Is this job too much for you? I said, well, what do you mean? She's like, well, you're working all this overtime. She's like, it's not necessary. She's like, do what you can in the time and go home. And here, and here I'm used to.
What a concept.
Yeah, and here I'm used to, you know, always, you know, being on and doing more and checking, you know, emails and stuff. And she would see that I was on, you know, say on the weekend, or I would respond to certain things. And that's where she had said, she's like, you know, we hired you because of your skills and your knowledge, and we want you to set a good example for that work-life balance. So do what you can, and then at 4:30, go home.
That was like, I can't even, out of all the jobs I've had in my life, I don't remember ever, including now running my own, ever saying like, it's 4:30. It's like time.
Yeah, it's time.
Cut it off.
But then everyone there in the office, I mean, it was at 4:35, 4:40, it was a ghost town. It was just
so crazy.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. You know, the other thing, you know, towards the end of the contract, I had, when I was thinking about, you know, okay, what am I going to do next, and so on and so forth, and I was going through this little eat, pray, love moment. You know, I had wanted to take some time off, and my boss, I said, you know, had told me, she's like, I'm taking the summer off, so I won't be. You know, and this was, you know, in May. So she's like, I'll be gone from June and I'll be back in September. So, and I had accumulated a lot of time as well. She's like, take some time off. So I did. I took 2.5 months off.
Oh my God, what does that feel like?
It's
I
weird.
did it in pandemic, but I've never done that.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird.
What did you do?
I just traveled. Working and living there, I had met a lot of people within Europe. So I just went to go. A friend of mine, his parents own a vineyard outside of Madrid. So I went to go stay with his parents, and we just had. It was also World Pride in Madrid that year. So we were there with friends. Yeah, and then I was there for a couple of weeks.
A saucy affair.
and then at the time there was this guy that I was had been talking to on and off, and he was I had met him in San Francisco, but he was living in Turkey now. So I went to go spend a month with him in Turkey.
Oh my God, how
amazing. It was amazing. And then I needed to get serious about, okay, what am I going to do? So then I went to Italy, and I took this road trip, flew into Venice, drove all the way down on one side of the country, crossed over, went to towards the tip of the boot, and then I drove up the other side, and then ended up back into Venice by myself.
Dreamy. I mean, that what an experience. And like,
yeah, it was.
I mean, I can't imagine the growth that you had as a person after that.
Yeah, I mean, there was a personal growth to it, but also a professional one, and really understanding how to lead and manage and mentor people. It's one thing to do it here in the US, but then to do it in a different country with different cultures. And so you kind of really widen and learn to adapt different methods, because my team, there was I had maybe 7 direct reports and about 30 indirect, but they were all from different countries: French, Germany, Norway, Finland. And so each person had their own unique contribution to the team, and that, I mean, I learned so much from them that it was just amazing.
So you come back now, and how did you land at Vroman's right away, or did you? I mean, I know you did some styling.
I did. So the reason why I came back was I got an opportunity from a close friend of mine to start working in the entertainment industry and to start doing set design. And so I came back. I started doing that. And there were several projects and shows that I had worked on. Gwen Stefani Christmas special. I then met someone who hired me to go work for a Showtime show called Who is America with Sacha Baron Cohen. And then there were just all these other shows I started doing. But in doing that, when I would go and kind of shop for the sets and just do props and stuff, I really started to see, like, God, I really miss working in retail. I really miss creating these different themes and collections. And then during that period, there was this opportunity that had opened up at Vroman's, and I had applied. I didn't really, know what was going to come of it. And yeah, they had hired me. And so I kind of stopped doing the shows, and I still do it occasionally. I had just finished one a couple of weeks ago, but that's not where my passion is. I really, really enjoy retailing, really enjoy creating a phenomenal store experience. And that just really gets me going.
So talk to me a little bit about, because I buy in concepts. I still am very much like what I learned being around Anthropologies. I'll cherry pick all these lines to create one little curated capsule. How do you guys approach your buying?
That's how we're doing it now. When I first started, it was very different. It was just whatever sold. So there was no rhyme or reason. And so when I was trying to build these collections, I'm like, oh,
I think I remember.
this is odd. And so slowly, we just started kind of, and the way I function, I need to step back and have this helicopter view of everything. And then I start to piece it together. And then I pause, because then I have to think, okay, at the end of the day, when the customer walks in or when they leave, what do I want them to leave with? What is it that I want to say? And that's how we slowly started to evolve into creating these different themes and collections. And now that's how we buy. So I create these different storyboards and these different themes for fall, winter, and spring and summer. And then we kind of start to build and shop around and create that experience within the store.
So tell me some of your concepts for spring and summer. Because we all came off the show now, so I'm dying to hear.
So there's, okay, what is one theme? Actually, I have it here. Hold on.
Please don't say like unicorns or
no.
So
no.
He's like, no.
Cloths, unicorns, like
no. So there is one theme that I'm calling psychedelic. So it's all mushroom, retro feel. It has this like zodiac base, but very with mushrooms and psychedelic type of feel with like the evil eye and all that stuff.
Oh, you kind of combined a couple. Okay, I like it.
Yeah. I mean, a couple of years ago, it was very like simple. Okay, we had a bee story, or we had this.
Bees.
Yeah, bees were everywhere. But then now it's kind of evolved and it's becoming a bit more complex, and I think there's more depth within the collections. Another one I'm doing for last winter, I did a Northern Lights theme, so I had a very winter camping element to it, and then that transition where I'm combining like this. I haven't named this one yet, but it has this like UFO forest abduction type of theme.
So amazing. That's so amazing.
But then now it's kind of, with my other buyer, we're kind of, she has said, why don't we make it like a conspiracy theories and type of, fun things like that.
Are you guys, I mean, I'm assuming you guys are cross merchandising, not just like the gift books. Are you guys going to like cross merchandise all this fucking crazy ass UFO books and like the conspiracy theory books and like?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we do. Absolutely. I mean, and that was the whole point when I had started, was how can we reinvigorate the merchandising program, but then because we have the strength of all these books, I mean,
you're a bookstore.
Yeah, and and we carry, I think it's over 80,000 titles.
Oh shit.
And it's over two levels. So then how can we augment it, and really make this experience, as wonderful, as possible, and also to change it up. So we're always changing it so that when you come in a couple of months, what you walk into is going to be different.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, that is my biggest thing. We talk about this a lot. I just had Nathan on, and the importance of having your opening statement and other vignettes change frequently, because you have the same customers that come in every week, and there's stores that keep, and this is like what I harp on all the time, and it's like you have stores that keep the same display up because it's like, but it sells there. It's like, no, it's gonna stop selling because they've walked by it, they've bought it. It's like, enough, shutter it out the door, like moving on.
Yeah, no, vitality has to be a strategic part of your agenda, because without it, it's going to get stale. It's going to get old. And it's not that you have to go and buy something new and change it. Just, you know, give it a different life, pair it with something different, and people will be like, oh, I've never seen this. Oh, this is new.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, we've had it for about a year and a half, but
Yeah.
but
But
you're
the perception's new. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that is really, really critical to really bringing back your customers, and always having them hungry for more and for change.
Keeping that curiosity and keeping that hunger for like what's new, like let's go. It's like the Rogers Gardens theory. It's like,
oh yeah,
it's like so phenomenal at what they do. And it's like, even though they've carried the same Halloween thing a couple years in a row, they reinvent that Halloween room every year. It's a whole theme. And that definitely, it's like, you know, it's a bigger scale, but that's
absolutely. Yeah. And they have a whole team. I mean, it's just me there. So you know, and we don't have the budgets, and I'm sure a lot of stores don't have the budget to really do what Rogers Garden does, but they do it on an exceptional level. And that is probably a retailer that I go to for inspiration.
Yeah.
I mean, for people who are listening, because we've got people internationally listening now and nationally, it's like, for people who don't know, it's this amazing garden store. And actually my mom would take me, my brother there, because she was a single mom. She didn't have that much money. So she would take us to do all these like free things. And she'd take us there. And this is like, I was like 5. So this place has been around like 50 years, and it's a full garden center, but some of the most gorgeous, lush, like high-end plants you've ever seen. And then they have buildings on the property that they've got all these different gift rooms, and they're known for their Halloween. I mean, they bus people, Japanese tourists bus them, they hire buses and bring them in. I mean, and it's literally Disneyland level. And so if
it's really pretty.
if you have a chance, look it up. It's Rogers Gardens. It's in Newport Beach. You can just Google images alone and just see some of the phenomenal displays. And every year it changes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Christmas is really pretty too. They do
very pretty.
So pretty.
Yeah. I know. You know, I have to say, like, I'm kind of sad about Christmas now, because it's, you know, like anything, you start to do that much volume, and you know, obviously you sell so much stuff, your store's just trashed in like a day. Cause I mean, I can't even imagine the volume. I mean, it's got to be close to $100,000 a day the first couple of days they open. And what that looks like when you're talking about candles and like ornaments and stuff, but it's gotten Christmas doesn't wow me as much as it used to, because it's very 16 rows of the same figure, 16 rows of the same candle, but I mean, it's still beautiful. It just doesn't, Halloween to me is the one that's just like, Melissa, tell me some of the practices that you carry on now still that you took from your days at Z Gallerie.
Customer service, I think, probably is like the biggest one. I mean, when I didn't like to sell at Z Gallerie, that was never my forte. I just love,
I love really good.
So good at it.
Okay, but to me, I just liked making people happy. And I feel like I've taken that into my accounts now. Like, I don't consider like what I was doing as selling by any means. I'm a servicer, and I will service the crap out of it. I will take whatever small concept and run with it and make my clients' lives as easy as possible. Like, that's my goal. Like, that's just me as a person, though.
That's like literally the fucking epitome of why you were such a good manager, because that same philosophy and that same, you had that with the store and you had that with the employees. I mean, that's like literally the epitome of who I can only imagine now.
Thanks.
Like, with you and your clients.
I love my clients. I love when they come to me for the most obscure things, because they know that I will bend over backwards to find it for them, or we will recolor something to match the scope of the project that they need. But to me, that's my job. Like, my job, yes, there's a sales figure, obviously, because we're in business and that's the goal, right? We want to make money. But to me, if a job can be a few $100s or a few $1,000s, and to me, it gets the same level of service. So I think that's one thing that I took from Z Gallerie more than anything, is just that service goes a long way. And treating everybody, whether I remember calling on a designer once, and she said, because I was going to be in the San Diego area, and I said, Polly, I'm just calling to see if you would want to get together for like coffee or something. I'm going to be in your area. And she says, Melissa, I'm just a one-off. Like, I'm just by myself. Like, that's my bit, And I was like, I don't care. Like, that doesn't matter to me. Like, whether you are a one-off or you're like in a big design house, like, I'd love to treat people equally. And we've had a lot of business from this one-off. And had I been like, oh, okay, yeah, well, I'm probably going to like concentrate on the design firms instead, we wouldn't have that business. So to me, I think that that's probably the biggest takeaway, and something that I just think people need to value that, because a lot of times they will think the bigger the better. And that's not necessarily the case, because you don't know, especially with the designers, you don't know who's going to land what job. Just because you're in a giant design firm doesn't mean that you're not going to land a hotel. And having that relationship to me is like the most important thing. So
with the customer service, that's one thing that's to me, the biggest thing I took away from my time at Fred Segal was that hand to mouth customer service, and knowing their kids' names and how was your vacation, and
100%.
And it's genuine. It's not like, oh, like the canned response, like, I like your outfit, like you get from, but it's, and I don't know if you have the same belief. It's like, everyone's like, Amazon's going to take over the brick and mortar. It's like, it's not. If you have customer service like that, I mean, look at Romans. They've been around for 150 years, something like that doesn't come without, excellent customer service. And I will drill that home till I die, is like, customer service is, you're never going to get that on Amazon.
You're never going to get it on Amazon. No, absolutely not.
Your package, if it gets lost, they'll give you your money back. Fine. But they're not going to remember your kid's name. They're not going to send you a birthday card. They're not going to ask what your vacation was. Like, they don't care. They're not going to wrap it. Like, that's, to me, like, customer service is the end all be all to me.
Yeah, agreed 100%. And I think that's why I do as well as I do, because I remember that. I remember the husbands. I remember the kids. I remember that, oh, they just had a birthday. What did you do? Like, that kind of things. And again, like you said, like, it's not forced. Like, that's definitely, it's genuine, but I feel like it's key. And I think a lot of times that goes really undervalued, and it shouldn't.
Yeah. Fabian, what was your biggest takeaway from our time at?
I'm not sure, but I
not to
and let me think about it, because I want to go kind of just go back to what Mal was saying, and kind of just add to that is, it's I think one of the differences there at Romans and why they've been so successful is also the people that they bring on, that they're so passionate about what they do. And we legitimately have booksellers and people that enjoy reading. I don't read as much. It'll probably take me a year to finish a book, if that, but I enjoy what I do, and I bring that to the table. But then the people working there genuinely really enjoy reading books, and you go up and ask them, can you recommend? They're like, yes, and this. And I just love standing and listening to how they talk about this author and what and why they like them. And then they start to have a conversation and different viewpoints. It is fascinating.
I'm a book weirdo, and I'm embarrassed to say that every single time I go into a bookstore, I will walk in saying, you're getting magazines, you're not allowed to book. And I literally, I'm not kidding you, I have a stack that's probably 3 feet high next to my bed of books that I'm reading one right now. I'm so in love with, and I don't want it to end, but I mean, it's like, okay, it's getting like a bit much. Like, read what you own, Michelle, and then it's really bad, but it's like, I think in old school bookstores, what I love about the salespeople is that because they do read it. My favorite is when they put up the recommendation and they'll put a little note about and no one does that anymore. There's a place down in Manhattan Beach called, I forget the name, Pages, and her team does the same thing. And it's like, it does seem like the people that sell books are a total different breed than any other.
Right.
They're like these nerdy, brilliant salespeople. Like, I don't even know how to put that, because it's like, do a lot of them want to be writers, or they just have a passion for reading?
No, they're just, they're different people. There are people there getting their masters, or getting, say, their teaching license, or a
Credentials.
credential. Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
Or there's someone else who's going to be a botanist, or good. Yeah, so it kind of varies, but I think everyone has what they enjoy, be it mysteries or nonfiction, or it's just, they just all really enjoy books.
And I
I
love that you
really
listen to
evident.
you love listening to their conversations, because
Yeah.
I will be in stores and I'll listen to true passionate salespeople, and they're not selling, they're just talking about something they
Right.
love. And there's something so,
Right.
Fred used to say, energy creates energy. And it's you
100%.
feel that passion and that energy from somebody when they love something so much. It's like,
Yeah.
I guess that's why I have so many books.
No, and to kind of go back to your question on, what I took with me or what I learned. I think it's really being honest and humble with what you know and what you don't know,
Mm.
and being able to translate that in the work you do. And I think that was one of the lessons that I took from Z Gallerie, and from working at IKEA. I think I took with me was that bigger is not necessarily better,
Mm.
and keep it simple and small. And I think that's kind of where I found myself coming back where I was born and raised, and then going back to a small company. There was something that I missed from working from a family-owned company, and I think that's what drew me to Work at Romans and why I'm there.
I love that. Okay, I asked people the same last question is, Melissa, where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Oh, definitely retired. Living in, yeah, retired. Hopefully playing with
We didn't
grandkids.
skip a
Yeah,
beat on that one, man.
hopefully playing with grandkids. Retired, although,
Wait, how old are you?
52,
You're 52? Shut up.
almost, yeah.
Almost. Like, you sound like,
In September, but
my
yeah.
God, you sound like Meg Ryan. I'll be 40 one day. 25.
Yeah. No, honestly, like I feel like I could be doing what I'm still doing. I mean, that's very possible. I'm not a jumper, and I love what I do, and I don't see me not doing that. But if I were to change what I'm doing, I honestly see myself working in a little tchotchke store that's been curated and that's adorable, and that I don't care if we sell anything during the day because I'm just happy with what's around me. I go into those stores all the time, and I tell my husband, I tell Bill, honey, if I had all the money in the world and I didn't care if one thing sold or the cost of rent or anything, I would love just to have a store like this. Like, we were just in one in Monrovia the other day. I was like, that's where I see myself. Or working like in a little tiny gallery. Not like a fine art, like hoity-toity gallery, but like a more down to earth sort of gallery. Like, but something still with art for sure, because Z Gallerie just planted that in me. I don't have an art degree, but I could tell you what's going to sell and what's not going to sell, and it's weird. It's very, I don't know how that came to be, but yeah, so that's me.
And Fabian?
It's funny that she says that, because on top of everything that I've done, And I know we touched on it very little. I also have a
Oh
side
my God, I'm so sorry.
no, it's fine, but you know, I'm growing my own business, and when I had launched it, it was right at the start of the pandemic, of course, so you know, there was a lot of challenges, but I want to have my own little small tchotchke store.
I will work there. You will do it. You won't have to pay me, and it'll be perfect.
And the other thing was you know, kind of why I went to Romans as well, is that there's also this old childhood memory that I have where I wanted to kind of work in a small little, maybe not dark, but you know, just to work in a bookstore. There was something about the smell of books. And even though I don't read them as much, there's something about the smell.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, there was also this movie that has just resonated with me that I remember. And there was this scene from the Never Ending Story when he was getting picked on and they were chasing him. It was towards the beginning of the movie, and he runs into this bookstore to like hide. And there was something about that where he just walks in and he's just looking around and kind of amazed. I want that. And so hopefully if my business continues to grow, and I'm able to afford and expand and have a little tchotchke store, then I think I know who I'm gonna call.
I apologize. I so did not mean to skip over that.
No, it's fine.
Tell everybody though what your website is, because I've gone on it and I want to ask you like how it's doing, because I went on it in the beginning and it was during pandemic, and tell about the website and tell about what you sell and the whole vibe of it.
Yeah, so it's called WonderCam, and it's the name of it is kind of a play on the word Wunderkammer. And Wunderkammer is a German word that means wonder chamber. And it's essentially kind of the beginnings of like the cabinets of curiosity and very like odd and weird, quirky, funny things. And I was always interested in that. I mean, you could even see in the back where I have this big pheasant.
Love that.
So, you know, a lot of, you know, beetles and taxidermy and scientific things, but then things that you would never expect. So there's funny things, offensive things. And I kind of just started building this. And I again, it's just my passion for gift and home furnishings. And I started, you know, I wanted to create my own experience in my own store and have all these little wonder chambers. And so, you know, I'm kind of, I have like this little, say like a horticulture section and another thing that's about astronomy. And so it's slowly evolving. And there was times when I'm like, what the hell am I doing?
You're bankrolling it yourself.
Huh?
You're bankrolling it yourself.
Totally. It's all self-funded. Everything that I make, I put it into the business. And there were times where I, you know, break even, times where I totally lose, and sometimes where I'm like, hey, you know what, I made $10. So after all is said and done. So but I think it's you know, I'm putting my own feet to the fire. And, you know, it's always easy to, I think, you know, when you're doing it for other people, where now it's like you do it for yourself, it's different. And so I'm very conscious about everything. And I think I understand even more about cost and taxes and expenses, and where I'm like, holy shit, I bought all this stuff, I spent all these things, and sometimes I'm like, okay, I made $10. That's it. That's all, after all that work and stress and shipping it and doing it, it's $10. So,
oh my God. I got to give it to you, because e-commerce is hard. And it's like, how do you get people to your e-commerce site? I'm just going down a total another path now.
So I have a small social media presence, but I haven't nurtured it enough because I just haven't had time. But I've been fortunate through the customers that I have had and the level of service that they've received. They've told other people, so it's been word of mouth. And so I've gotten repeat visits. I've gotten emails saying, hey, my friend told me about your site, I like it. And it's just been growing. And now I think last month I got several thousand visitors to the
Wow.
website. And
Awesome.
I've been doing a lot on SEO and really trying to optimize the website. And since I'm always changing it, yeah, it's just been growing. So going from having a few sales a month to now having a couple of sales a day, and it's just been, yeah.
That's amazing.
That's
Mel
awesome.
was going to say something.
I was just gonna say I was a recipient of one of those fun things from the website, and I have it on my counter next to our wine rack, and it's a penis. Um, it's a metal penis that you put in the wine bottle, and it pours through the penis. Every time the boys will, so I've got adult boys, they're 20, 21, and 22. And they will pass by, they're like, Mom, do you have to have it right there? I'm like, yeah, I have to have it right there on the counter. But yes, so I think of Fabian every time I pass by it, and I will use that every time I open a bottle of wine.
I will say that has been one of my top sellers. And
oh my
when
God,
people,
well, the quality is really nice. I'm not kidding. It's not cheesy. It's like heavy, and it's metal,
it's
and it's
really,
very well formed. It's really nice.
yeah, it's and when people buy it, they
Silver
actually
or gold?
no,
Silver.
when they buy it, people buy multiples because I think they get it for like parties and different stuff.
It's so fun.
Yeah, and it's also, there's a patent for it. So the person that made it, I mean, did a great job.
Yeah, they did a great job.
Yeah.
I can't think of a better way to end this than on the penis pourer. So with that, I'm going to say thank you both so much for your time. I'm thank God it did not cut out.
I'm so happy. I mean, although I was looking forward to us getting together, but that's okay.
I mean, we still need to, but thank you guys so much.
Of course.